Okay, so let's start. First of all, does anybody want to talk about anything that's in the done column that they want us to review or talk about? No, I'm just trying to have a quick look. Okay, so let's start off then with the new column. So there's 3 items in new. Review and refresh the home landing page. So we had a working session on that. It's now down to me to actually get a draft together for review. I haven't yet had a chance to actually get that done, but I will endeavor to do that this week. So it'll be available for comment and review next week. So I'm going to move that one to in progress. Next, we've got a define the process to create a document PR. I don't know who created this one, but we sort of do have that in the OKD.io docs. So we talked about that last time. I know I created it at the last meeting. I'm not sure whether we actually need to do anything here. Michael, are you aware of any issues that people have brought up around how to create a PR? Oh, I remember this. I do remember it. This was, how do we actually go around testing? So if we're going to create a PR, we should at least make sure that the syntax is correct. That's what it was. This was a discussion around there. So if somebody does want to go into the official OKD docs, which is in the Red Hat OpenShift repo, is there any way that they could get to the point where they can at least build the docs, check that their syntax is correct, it does actually create a valid page? And if so, can we actually define that process? Nobody on the call sort of seemed to know if that was possible outside of the pipelines that run inside Red Hat.
Sorry, Brian, could you tell me the number of the card again that you're looking at?
It's actually in draft. It hasn't got a number. I'm about to go and convert it to an issue, so it will have a number. So it's in the planning repo number 35.
Here we go. Thank you.
I haven't really put any details in there. So yeah, this is about
this is about creating a PR for the OpenShift docs repo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did try to run some of those docs like tools locally to see if I could get the site running, and I had a lot of trouble trying to get it working on my end.
So I guess the question is this something that we want members to, community members to do, or is this where they should write what they want the page to say and request that, say, Michael makes the changes in collaboration with them? How should we want to approach this one?
Anyone can submit a PR.
The problem is, though, we shouldn't really submit a PR if the syntax is so broken that it breaks the Red Hat build, because I think that's the issue. Outside of the Red Hat sort of firewall, nobody can validate that if they create a page, they haven't broken the syntax or they haven't invalidated the syntax. And that's what Almiko's just said. He tried to, could he do it and he wasn't able to do that sort of just with what's in the Git repo. So there's obviously tooling and scripts that we don't have access to within the community. So what is the best way to get around that? Is that something that we want to put in place, or is it something that we just think it's easier just to create a text documentation and then work with you to get it formatted and put into the documentation? What are people's thoughts?
So you wanted to like a preview, so you can see just what will happen if you make that change.
Yeah, I mean, I think it is part of the process that no one really wants to do a PR unless they know that it's a valid PR. You never want to check in broken code, effectively.
Right.
Mike, got your hand up.
Yeah, so like, I mean, I can tell you what my expectations would be from a community perspective. Like, I think that there should be some way for me before I submit the PR to run the tooling and see what the site would look like. Now, I know currently there's like a preview mechanism that works with some internal structure here at Red Hat, but like, even if it's like, and this is where I was trying to go with my hacking on the docs, like if I could contribute like a Docker file or something, like if there were a container I could run that would create the docs for me and allow me just to run it on my local machine, like that, it to me would be like the high watermark for what I would love to see in the repo. Because that would make it easy for anyone in our community then to be able to like test their PR out. I just like, I get into a wall because I don't know the docs tooling well enough to understand like where the limitations are there.
Is there any kind of CI running on PRs to the OpenShift docs repo and kind of test builds that would at least make it a little bit easier? Once a PR gets the okay to test, it would make it build, but I'm not sure anything's running there. It doesn't look like it to me.
Any review links that I find in there are only accessible within Red Hat.
Have we tried installing ASCII binder? That's the tool we use to build the docs. Well,
okay, so rather than fix this, I mean, I like that idea. If we could get a container and just have a simple instruction. So is it worth just asking for volunteers to go and actually explore that route?
Yeah, I think there's fruit to that. Like to what Michael just said, I did try ASCII binder, but I think it like at some point during the process, it was trying to push to some internal repo or something like I got caught up on some of the mechanisms that I think CI was using. So like my feeling is like if I was able to spend like a day or two on this, I probably could have come up with like a separate way to build this. So I'm sure somebody else could as well. But yeah, like probably someone just needs to spend like some time playing around with it and seeing how to, and it doesn't have to be a Red Hatter, it could be a community member because all these tools are open. So, but I think someone needs to kind of spend time debugging it and figure out how to make it work. And then if we could just have like, then we could have an image that we can just reuse, a container image we could reuse to kind of like run the site locally. So like, I don't know where that work falls. Like I sadly, I don't have time to mess around with it at the moment, but it's a cool problem to solve for someone.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that into the ready. I've copied those and I'll move that into the ready. And then hopefully we can find somebody that has some time to actually go and explore that.
Yeah, +1 for me.
Okay, and then the last one we have in the new column is creating a page to outline the release cycle and support assistance. So this is a conversation really around what is the OKD release cycle, and just make sure that we fully document that we don't have formal support, but what is the way that people can actually ask assistance around that release cycle. also the fact that we don't maintain previous versions. So currently we don't have that multiple streams of releases we are actively working on. So that was a request just to put that in. So again, looking for someone to actually take that. Julio, are you part of the Git organization? And then I can assign that to you, or you can go and grab it and assign it.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's Fireman J. I'll type it here, the username.
Okay. Great, thank you. We can.
I'm going to add you right away.
Okay, thanks, Christian. And then we can put that into the in progress column. Okay, so again, that release cycle one. I guess at some point we need to come together, and are we going to try and coordinate SCOS, FCOS, or keep them as two separate projects? We just need to work out what we're going to do and write it up somewhere in the docs, I guess.
So for OKD on SCOS, we now have a pretty stable sprintly release cadence that is every 3 weeks. That's been working quite well for the past 6 weeks. So hopefully we can keep it that way. What we haven't done yet is sync up with Vadim on actually taking over the release engineering part from him. I think what we want to do going forward is create sprintly, that is 3 weekly releases of all of our 3 streams. That is OKD on FCOS stable, OKD on SCOS stable, and OKD on SCOS next, which is the master branch as a preview build. And I think what we want to do is align the release cadence of all of our releases. So we have the FCOS one done on the same day as the SCOS ones. We still have to talk to Vadim, since he is currently still doing the Fedora releases. But ideally, we can take that off his shoulders and do it through the CFE team that Luigi is part of, and the OKD streams team internally that we now have. So yeah, ideally we'll align it. We still have to talk to Vadim.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so that's the new ones done. Going into backlog, number 29, move guides to blog post. That's on me. I am looking to integrate a new technology to add a blog section, which is automatically indexes them. So as part of the build process, it'll automatically create the index page of blogs, so a lot easier to add blogs to the site. There is a plugin to MKDocs that does that. Slight issue with it at the minute. I'm just trying to track down the resolution. It's not doing the pagination correctly, but when that's done, I shall actually do that and then move all the guides. So the idea is the guides at the minute are all out of date. Hey, Jamie. The guides are all out of date. So having them have a date and a context would be a good idea. So that's why we're moving them into the blogs. Number 3, create Tecton and OKD document. So I know that one is down to Jamie and Bruce. I think that will also change a little bit in the context of next week's discussion on OKD operators. Jamie, Bruce, do you want to say anything on that one?
Nothing other than I agree with you that I think that it's going to change a little bit after we have our discussion. So,
okay. Planning item number 2. This was on the idea of
actually, Brian, real quick, if I may, regarding the operators, we have just set up a new cluster on the Massachusetts Open Cloud that we're going to use as a build farm for CentOS Stream Core OS, and ideally in the future even more. But for now, we'll just build SCOS on that new cluster, and that's going to be an OKD, or that is an OKD cluster. And we need to set up Tecton and Argo there. So ideally, we'll be a consumer of the community builds of both the pipelines operator and the GitOps operator on that cluster. So we can really consume the community build on our official build infrastructure for official SCOS builds. And those are then, that cluster is going to also become part of the CentOS infrastructure. So we can call it official CentOS release artifacts. And yeah, just a heads up, I think we are interested in consuming those operators as well. We'll get started with just using the Red Hat provided builds, since that's kind of an internal cluster still, and we can pull them there. But ideally, we want to switch that over to the community builds in the long run. So just as
great.
There is some consumers on the build side there.
Great, fantastic. Okay, so number 2, this one's been around for a long time, since September. So the idea with this one is that we want to get into the habit of creating educational content, so videos. Now the idea was that Diane was going to host sessions where someone gave a presentation and they would become videos. We did get a set of topics, and as far as I'm aware, the only one that was done was number 1, which was Alnico. He took us through how to actually, what the build process was, and a little bit about how you actually went and debugged that. Do you want to say something? You got a hand up?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I have a plan and a preliminary storyboard done for a Musk Gather video as well that I captured in one of our issues. Unfortunately, then I turned my life upside down by coming over to Europe for a couple months. And I haven't gotten back to like doing the recording for that. So like I still would like to do a Musk Gather and related tooling video, probably like 30 minutes. But given the way we were doing things in the past, I think something we talked about going on in the future is that maybe content creators could create the video themselves and then share it with like Jamie to get the proper like bumpers on it or whatever, and then upload it to the right place. So I was going to try to continue working on that angle, assuming that, you know, that workflow still works for Jamie and for the community and everything.
It does for me. I'm, happy to tweak video and encode video and post it. We just need folks doing content, as it were.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so again, if you go to item number 2, there is a discussion thread that you can sort of add thoughts, but we are looking for volunteers all the time. So if you have one, it'd be very useful. If you already volunteered, again, if you want to actually talk to Jamie about getting some video help, you can take that. Okay. Number 26, write a board guidelines. We haven't got a volunteer for that one, but that still needs to be done. Again, if you see anything on there that you fancy doing or that you'd like to have a go, but you're not sure, always look for volunteers. You can ping me, Slack me in the Kubernetes Slack channel. I'm happy to help anyone get going. Right, the single node OpenShift. So Luigi has published his how to do it manually. I noticed there was quite a bit of chat around the assisted installer and the agent install process. So I need to go back with 4.13 and see if that fixed the problems I was having. 4.12, it did not work on either FCOS or SCOS in terms of getting the assisted installer working for a single node install. So we need to go around the loop again on that. If not, I'll be looking for help to actually get that going.
Brian, as far as I know, there's still problems with that in 4.13. If you could still test it though and report anything you find back to us, we haven't been able to make to schedule time for it in this sprint. Hopefully we'll get to it next sprint, which starts in 2.5 weeks after DevConf. Hopefully by then we'll be able to look into that internally as well. But anything you can already provide us in terms of logs and errors from the community side would be appreciated. So we kind of get a head start there. Obviously PRs are appreciated too, but we still need to find out what the actual issues are. I've heard reports of multiple issues, so yeah, your mileage may vary, but please try it out. That would be a huge help for us.
Okay, I'll do.
Sorry, Bob, I was going to say we've also been working on the agent installer with Andrea Fasano. He's been on the call here as well. And we've tried it on various versions of Fedora 30, from 38, 36, 37. We're still having problems. So there's some maturity needed there. So yeah, if you could also try the agent installer as Christian mentioned, it would be great, and report back. We can accumulate all the errors and see if we can get this thing sorted.
Alnico, interesting comment.
I mean, I can get the bug here for you if you want, but a fix is in place.
Okay. Okay, and then what item 27 is, once you've got it working, we have to get it into the official docs, because at the minute we have nothing in the official docs around SNO, because we had to remove the section that's in the OpenShift docs, because obviously the hosted assisted installer doesn't do OKD. We've covered 37. Going into the ready column. So this is work that we've agreed that needs to be done, and we're now just looking for people to do it. So number 25 is about getting good tutorials. The guides are quite out of date. So this is, I've never done OKD. I'm not really sure what it's about. Help me get started quickly. So basically that's what this is. It's just somewhere that we can refer people. The documentation is quite thorough, but someone new coming in, it's like, here's 20 options to go install it. It can be quite daunting. So this is just trying to get people an easy, get started quick. So again, if you want to take that one on, that could be a nice video, or it could be a guide.
Yeah, and Brian, yeah, Brian, this is Dwayne. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you, Dwayne.
So, and then I think there was another issue, going back talking about roadmap, and with that roadmap, I didn't want to have that mix up with the roadmap, and so, but I have put number 12 roadmap in there for everyone to chime on, and that will hopefully instruct me on the tutorial. So I'm in sync with what everyone thinks are the right layers for everyone to begin to learn, maybe it's vanilla Kubernetes, then opinionated Kubernetes, so that the newbies can come in and not have any deficiencies or any fear of where to go, if that makes any sense. So, yeah. But I just shared that link, and as soon as I can get back into GitHub, I sent you the link where maybe you can put it in. I'll try to put it in later, but you can at least chop up the roadmap and see what's good, what's bad, and then that should be my guide for our tutorials. Which is what I'm trying to do.
Okay, I'll put that in. That's in the in review column. The issue 12. Yeah, I see that. Okay. Number 8. So this was something that Diane was going to do, but I think I think we're sort of covering that in what we did last week in terms of what's on the homepage. So I'll review that, but I might be closing number 8 out because we covered it in the new homepage. Number 19. So that is what's happening next week, the next meeting, not in 2 weeks' time. So that is the community meeting to kick off the catalog creation or the OKD catalog. So that is what's happening in 2 weeks' time on the 13th of June.
Now, one thing I'd like to do is let's try to promote the heck out of it, because I think we can get some interest to pull people into the OKD community with this meeting. And I've been sort of promoting it and talking about it. And so if I could get some help and other folks sharing in your social networks, in your various places, I think that would be really good, because operators and the new catalog is a way to get a lot of people, I think, interested in, contributing to the community.
I agree. And we are going to need some help on that. Okay, the next one is number 22. So this is CRC with the OKD option. So there was a bug on this that I haven't checked to see if it's fixed. Just looking now. It has been merged, so it has been fixed. But there was a request that we should take this on, as in the OKD community should take this on. We should be responsible for keeping the CRC release up to date.
I sent a message to that group. I haven't heard anything back yet, but I'll ping them again, voicing our interest in taking that on and asking what it is that we need to do. So as soon as I hear back, we'll have a path forward on that for sure.
Yeah, and I think the idea here would be to add it to the pipeline. So when we create a new release of OKD, we automatically do whatever's needed to bump the CRC content to be in line with the current release. So ideally, that we want that to be automated as part of our pipeline for a release. But again, we don't know what is involved in a CRC release yet. So watch the space. So number 7, again, this is documentation that we need to get to. It's just really define how we're going to manage projects in our GitHub. And I think this one's quite an important one, because at the last meeting we talked about the possibility of OKD becoming an upstream to OCP. And if that happens, and as we get into the operator content, we'll start getting more and more contributions into our Git organization. So I think it's important that we have an understanding of how we want to manage that. As a small community, it's pretty much people do what they need to do. But as we grow and as we're going to start releasing more content from our Git repo, I think having some process, some sort of due diligence in place to make sure we can't get hacked, and there is some resilience to the processes we employ around the use of GitHub. So that's what number 7 is about. Again, that might be a good topic for one of these workshop sessions that we have to actually get an agreed process for that. 24, this is on me, just to actually put out the results of the last work group into a proposal, so we can all agree or disagree onto that. In a similar vein, we want to alter the template of the homepage to add a banner to it, so we can actually have a latest news section and make it easy to actually update that. So we can just put like a red flash or a colored flash along the top that says this is the latest news. Things like the operator working group session would go on there, new releases would go on there. If there's any known issues that might cause people concerns, we could put things on there. If we're going to a conference, we can just flash it up there, things like that. Another long-standing 111, I don't think there's been any progress on that. Just make sure that we...
Yeah, Brian, on that one, yeah, I've been, obviously because I've been away and PTO and all the rest, but I did speak to Karina. I've added her response in the comments there. So basically, she did say, keep the current license and copyright templates as you have in OKD, and then just share them with her and Diane, but Diane's, I suppose, and they'll review it. So that's the resolution, really.
Okay, brilliant.
Okay.
So have they reviewed it, or are they going to review it?
No, I think we just well, if you can point me to the right URL or whatever, or send it to her directly, she'll review it and then look to see if there's any changes needed or whatever, and then give us some feedback.
Okay, I'll do that then. Yeah. 17. The survey responses. We actually haven't had we haven't gone over those yet. But I also know that Jamie is about to put out this year's survey. So if you want to go and look at that, there's a link in the comments.
I still have to add the one question that you suggested at the last meeting. I haven't done that yet, but if anyone else has any other feedback, let me know. Pretty much this would be our last meeting before it goes out. So any feedback is appreciated. Otherwise, I'm just going to send it out with that additional question that Brian suggested, and then collect the results in a new spreadsheet. So we'll have like a new spreadsheet every year, basically.
Okay, great. 14, define a diary calendar process to update roadmaps, guides, glossaries. I don't think there's been any action on this, but the idea here is that we just want to have a process where we actually have a published calendar. So say quarterly, we're going to review things, or every 6 months, we're going to review things, just so we actually have a process where we can actually do regular reviews. Okay. So we just need to move that one on at some point. 15, there's been no action on the volunteers. 21, we still don't have anyone in terms of handling the security. Can we close this one, Jamie? Because we've now got a mail to security, and that's just going to go to the people that have access to the email account. Is that good enough, or are we still looking for a volunteer?
Pardon the noise in the background. Yeah, I think we're going to close this one for now. I think ultimately it's trying to search for someone that had the time and the ability to volunteer specifically for security just did not work out. So let's close that one. Right now, as you said, the email goes to the group, and we'll just, if an opportunity arises where we get someone that wants to take on security specific stuff, great. In the meantime, let's just let it be.
Sorry, but what's the security implication in that context? What kind of security things are we looking at?
Well, so the goal was to be able to have someone sort of field security stuff and direct it to the appropriate, like if someone had found a security issue, or if they noticed that functionality had changed because of a security issue, or because of a security change, that there would be someone in the OKD working group that could direct any questions that they have to the appropriate resource. If it was third party, like if it was FCOS related, direct their request to the FCOS working group submission process, or if it's something related to Red Hat security team, and basically someone being traffic director, because there's really not a lot of stuff that's specific at this time that's specific to OKD in terms of security. A lot of it is, either going to be FCOS or it's going to be Red Hat OCP stuff. So does that answer your question?
Yeah. I just think that perhaps security is too generic of a term for anyone to be comfortable in taking that, and the routing, like how is that routing going to happen? Are we building a spreadsheet, or is there anybody who actually knows that much about the company to route this? Anyway.
Well, the idea would be that we would build the institutional knowledge once we got someone to volunteer time, because we have people from FCOS showing up at the meetings. We have obviously Red Hat employees showing up at the meetings. So the idea would be that we would, create a spreadsheet or, a chart that says, okay, if it's this, it goes here. If it's this, it goes here. Cool. We just haven't done it yet because we haven't had anyone volunteer in that space. Maybe it's a chicken egg thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be glad to help. Like I have the cycles, but not the connections, inside the company and the context. So
we can, we'll set you up then. I'm going to take you up on your offer. We'll consider you a volunteer for that. And then we will network with the FCOS folks and the OCP folks.
Cool.
And we'll write something out that has, the appropriate places to put information in regards to those things, and also the appropriate place to check, right? So if someone comes to us and says, hey, there's a security issue, we want to be able to not just direct them to, go look in the bug reports. We want to actually know
what's going on and
it's related to this specific. Right, exactly. So, all right, I'll touch base with you outside the meeting for that.
Thanks.
Thank you for volunteering.
No worries. In the case of videos and written content, it's pretty much the same. Like I have the cycles to help, but I have no clue of like how to run a web app and database in AJ on OKD. So, but I would be totally willing to write that or record that video if someone would help with the actual wizardry.
All right, excellent.
Okay, so moving into the in progress column, almost there. Item number 2, we've talked about, that's the single node installer. That's actually getting it to work. So I will go and retest all of that. We have issue number 31, and it's down for Michael Burke, which is updating the docs, just being clear that we only have a single update channel, unlike OCP that have multiple update channels. So the stable, the fast, we only have a single. So we just need to make sure that's reflected in the documentation.
And it is.
That's now finished, is it?
It is finished, yes.
Brilliant. So I can.
Hey, Michael, while we have you on the horn, is there any word on fixing the pull down for latest?
Done.
And the banner, the respective banner?
It's working. I checked that out. Yeah.
Oh.
Right, I've moved that one. That's the blog plugin. Remove the support section from the OKD docs.
I have made marginal, if that, progress on this.
Okay, do you need help from?
Probably.
Okay.
Let me have to go back and take a look. Not quite sure. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, we got a comment that we need to actually work out which modules within the support book need to be removed, updated. So yeah, we probably need to just go through that section and look at each page and write it out. So yeah, I can have a look at that. And yeah, I think number 13 is, sorry. So number 33, again, is the link to the latest Google Docs with the new survey in it. So again, if you've got any comments, please add it to there. Sounds like it's going out before next week's meeting. So last chance to comment on the survey. And then this is a duplicate of one that we've already talked about, which is actually reviewing last year's survey. So then in review, number 12, I need to add the link that Dwayne posted in the chat. So if people want to have a look at that.
And also in that link in the roadmap, I tried to go out and do future things like zero trust, which is a big security issue. And in the US, the deadline is like next September for them to have some type of zero trust. But that raises a question, will OKD be something people in the federal government will want to play with? Because that was where, that's that type of community. So, but it would be, you would have all these people that would love to train in it, for the government. So that's another discussion.
I mean, I think the interesting point there is obviously currently OKD is built on the same source as OCP. So I'm guessing there's a follow on from OCP with that zero trust, because that would be addressed within the core OCP product, I would have thought, and would flow into OKD. But it is something we should probably discuss and just make sure, especially if we're going to start delivering more content as a community team rather than from the OCP build process, we may have to look into that as part of the processes around how we as a community are going to work. So that's a good point there. So that is, I've posted your link into number 12. Yeah, that's that one. And 311 is marked as, so sorry, I'm now into the in reviews column. So that was 12, 11. We've talked about.
Yeah, I just moved it there. Yeah, I moved it there.
Yeah. And then 311, if you look in the document, everything but the current one is marked. Michael has done that for us. So everything but the current version is marked. You are viewing documentation for a release that is no longer maintained. So that's from 412 all the way back into 311. So we've got them fully covered. So it's only the 413 and the latest that don't have that banner. So that one is closed. And that is everything on the board. So we've gone through the entire board. Obviously, there are still quite a lot of items ready for someone to pick up and come and help us. So if you have any spare cycles, it would be wonderful if we could close off a few more cards. Does anybody have anything else they want to add? Are there any new issues that they want to add that weren't on the board? As a community, I think we need to get used to using this board and actually use it for everything going on within the community. So don't feel that you need permission to actually go and add something into the new column. Just go create it, and then we can discuss it at the next meeting. On the agenda, someone's added an OKD community event. Does somebody want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'm gonna run a community event with our community here in Brazil. I am part of this Linux Strips BR group of instructors, and we're gonna have a session. We run like a live about a Kubernetes related theme every Saturday, and we're up this weekend.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you publish that anywhere? Do you have a link to it, or is there anything that we could put out on social media that could help and promote it?
Yeah, I'll send you the links as soon as I have them. They're gonna probably publish some schedule or something like that. It's gonna be in Portuguese though, but
Okay.
yeah.
I mean, we do have the Twitter channel. Sorry, Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's the Twitter alias that we use?
so it's OKD, I think _IO. I don't have it in front of me, but I'm pretty sure that's it. One thing I should say is that we shouldn't view different languages as, or I don't think, as an impedance to what we're doing, because there's a lot of users in a lot of countries that, you know, their native language is what they work in still. I don't want us to feel like we're English centric in any way.
Yeah.
So, you know, well, I think we should promote this and just put a little note that, you know, what language it's in, and we're good to go.
Cool.
So any other comments? Okay, well, thank you very much for attending this. Next week, we'll go back to our OKD Working Group, where we talk about from the engineering team about the project. And then the week after, unless we have to reschedule, will be the meeting on OKD, the operator catalog. So that's 13th of June. Just wait for confirmation. If there's going to be a lot of people traveling to the event, we might push it back a week, but otherwise, we will be talking about the OKD operator catalog next community meeting. So on that, I will close out the meeting.
Oh, well, Brian.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks, Brian.
Cheers, bye.
Later.
Yeah, Brian. I was wondering, like, if on number 12, if I get like feedback in a couple of weeks, so I could go and start working on the glossary and the, you know, and the other stuff. You know, at least put a draft out there for them and throw songs at it, and you know, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah. So everybody, if we can go and have a look at that, the link is in the card. So if you go to the planning board, click on card 12. It's in the review column, and please post feedback on the card into the issue.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.